Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to my current event and talkbook page. A plague of locusts, earthquakes in diverse places, and weather that has gone completely nuts. Now, guys, the reason I report this is because this is biblical. And you can just listen for yourself and make up your own idea. But this is in the Bible. It is almost as if someone flipped some sort of switch as 2020 began, because we have been seeing really weird things happen all over the globe so far this year. Later in this article, this man is going to talk about earthquakes and strange weather events that we've seen over the past few days. I'm going to skip some of the narrative and read the news part, the facts, okay? Right now, there's massive armies of locusts that are voraciously eating crops in Asia and in Africa. Right now, a deadly invasion by millions and millions of locusts in India is absolutely devastating farm after farm, and the media in India is calling this locust invasion the worst in over 6 decades. It says the invasion began in October. And let's see what else they say. And it's just talking about that there's a current wave of attack by pink locusts, which are flying from Pakistan. As bad as things are in India, the truth is that they're even worse in Africa. According to the UN, the desert locusts that have been ravaging fields in Ethiopia and Somalia are now pouring into Kenya. The UN has warned of significant and extremely dangerous escalation in the number of desert locusts descending on Kenya, as the government strives to contain the threat before it reaches the country's food-producing regions. The tropical grasshoppers have been wreaking havoc on Kenya's neighbors to the north and east, devouring tens of thousands of hectares of crops in Ethiopia and Somalia since last June. Here in the United States, we think of a swarm as a few hundred insects, but over in Africa, swarms can literally take over an entire section of a country. For example, the FAO says that one of the locust swarms in Kenya measured 2,400 square kilometers. Each square kilometer of locusts in a swarm can eat as much in a day as 35,000 people, according to the FAO. Okay, says here, I think the man says, I think that this is fair to say that it qualifies as the plague of locusts, referring to the Bible. Meanwhile, earthquakes continue to pop up in unusual places. For example, ABC News is reporting the magnitude 4.5 quake hit Kansas on Sunday, which isn't that far from Iowa, where I live. The U.S. Geological Survey said a magnitude of 4.5 earthquake struck about 2 miles southwest of Hutchinson shortly after 1 p.m. This earthquake comes just a few months after there was a very suspicious swarm of 17 earthquakes in that same area of central Kansas. Now, the earthquake struck as the Kansas Corporation Commission investigates the cause of a swarm of 17 earthquakes in 5 days in August, the same area of central Kansas. The regulatory agency's investigation is focused on the underground disposal of oil-filled waste that's been blamed for quakes elsewhere in southern Kansas. On the other side of the globe, a very strong 6.0 magnitude earthquake hit Indonesia this weekend. A strong island earthquake has struck Indonesia's easternmost Papua province, but there were no immediate reports of major damage or casualties, thank God. These days, large earthquakes are happening so frequently that they barely make a blip in the news. A similar large earthquake just hit China, but hardly anyone in the U.S. even knows that it happened. It was a 6.4 earthquake, and it struck in northwest China. The shaking was felt in other cities, and at this time, there was no reports of fatalities or damages. Thank you, God, again. This is the third earthquake that has struck in southern China in the past 47 hours. They later downgraded it to a magnitude 6.0, but that's still pretty big. In some parts of the planet, the shaking will not stop. Over in the Philippines, there have been more than 400 earthquakes associated with the eruption of the Taal volcano since last Sunday. Since Sunday, a staggering 466 earthquakes have been recorded, and experts warn more eruptions may still come. Of those quakes, 156 were recorded as being intensity 1 to 4. Okay, let's see. More than 1,000 earthquakes have shaken Puerto Rico in recent weeks. More than 1,000, you guys. Many residents continue to sleep outside because they're deathly afraid that their homes will collapse on top of them while they're sleeping if another big quake suddenly strikes. Can you imagine living like that? On top of everything else, global weather patterns continue to go haywire. In Alberta, the weather has been colder than it's been on Mars. The highest temperature recorded on the red planet Wednesday morning was 17 below Celsius, according to NASA, which was still a few degrees above Alberta, where the warmest temperature recorded was 21.2 below Celsius. In Calgary, it reached a low of 31 below 0.2 Celsius. That's crazy. That is so crazy. In Edmonton, the mercury dipped to 34 below Celsius. Along with Mars, Alberta was colder than a number of other well-known spots like Siberia, which sat at 11 below Celsius Wednesday morning, and Greenland, where it was 12 below Celsius. In Newfoundland, a devastating blizzard packing wind speeds of up to 98 miles per hour dumped an all-time record 30 inches of snow on St. John's. They're asking for assistance, including mobilizing the armed forces, because after the blizzard has battered eastern Newfoundland. Rob Carroll, a meteorologist with Environment Canada, says St. John's had experienced a one-day snowfall of 30 inches of snow, breaking the previous record of 27 inches in 1999. On an almost daily basis, we are seeing natural disasters happen that are unlike anything we've ever seen before, and what we have witnessed so far is just beginning. Despite all our advanced technology, we remain exceedingly dependent on the natural environment that surrounds us. And in that natural environment, it is being increasingly unstable. We are truly entering uncharted territory, and most people cannot even imagine the great challenges that lie ahead for us all. Okay, guys, that concludes my story. I know I skipped through some stuff. I just wanted to get straight to the news. If you know the Bible and you read the end times and you research it, it does say that this stuff will be happening in the end days. And they liken it to a woman in labor. You know, when you start to go in labor, your contractions, or you get the Braxton Hicks, or just kind of warnings, and then you get the real contractions, and they're farther apart, but then they get closer together and they hurt more, and it's like the intensity gets more, and as it gets closer. So if you think about it that way, I believe that we are in the times where we are starting to have the birth pangs, the intensity grow more as it gets closer to the time. So something to think about, guys. Don't forget to say your prayers, and I love you, and God bless you. Bye-bye.